Om Namah Shivaya. I would like to welcome all of you to this satsanga. Tomorrow, myself and Swami Swaroopananda, Rukmini Chaitanya and Eshwari Chaitanya are traveling for a few months with the intention to be back by Christmas. And also tomorrow, Swami Brahmananda is traveling, and his intention is to be back before the Jayanti of Swami Shivananda, before the 8th of September. So, oh, Kumari. Oh, yes. Kumari was staying here. Kumari is traveling together with us, also for a few months. Kumari is assisting Swami Swaroopananda. So this was a long season, a very good season, and I would like to take this opportunity and to thank all the staff of the ashram, all the karma yogis, all the swamis, all the brahmacharis, the Bahamian staff, the ashram priest Krishna Nambudri, the ashram assistant priest Vishnu Prasad, the many presenters and musicians and artists that came to the ashram and inspired us with their gifts, the many spiritual teachers that came to the ashram and inspired us with their knowledge, the teachers and students of the many teacher training courses that are taught here through the season, as well as advanced yoga teacher training courses, to the yoga vacationers, to all of you, I would like to give thanks. This ashram was founded by Swami Vishnu-Devananda in 1967. And for many, many years, the ashram is growing stronger and stronger and stronger. And so many people participate in making this ashram what it is. I would like also to thank all the dwellers of the ashram. When I say all the dwellers of the ashram, I don't mean only human beings, but the animals here are special, the trees, this whole place is very special. So thank you all. Now, this evening is supposed to be an evening of questions and answers, and Swami Brahmananda collected questions, and he's going to ask them. And I'm going to do my level best to answer these questions.
Om Swamiji. Throughout the day, I do many tasks. Some I finish and some I don't. It appears it happens in a very chaotic way. Then when I sit for meditation, the exact same thing happens. the mind takes me on a roller coaster. How do I overcome this and bring tranquility to the mind?
Swami Shivananda said, have a daily routine and fill in every day a spiritual diary. So a person which is a spiritual aspirant or an aspirant yogi, a person that aspires to become a yogi, needs to get spiritual instruction from his or her teacher. If you don't have a teacher or a guru, you can get advice from a senior student or senior disciple. And based on the instructions that you get, design a daily routine. Every person has different circumstances of life. So according to the circumstances of your life, try to design a daily routine. Try to design a daily routine that you'll be able to practice. Swami Shivananda says that the best time during the day to do yogic practices is early in the morning. So the focus of our mind should be, first of all, what am I going to practice during the morning? When you are in the ashram, during the morning a very important event takes place, and this is the morning satsanga, the morning group meditation. This is a very good time to practice. Every day at the same time, satsanga takes place. Then after the satsanga in the ashram, we conduct a class of yoga asanas, pranayama, and relaxation. If you can join this class, it's an easy way to do the practice. If you prefer to do the practice on your own, it's good to practice every day at the same time, in the same place. And the length of the practice depends on your circumstances. If you have 1 hour to practice in the morning, yoga asanas and pranayam, this is very good. A lot can be done during this 1 hour of practice. If you have half an hour also, a lot can be done. 1.5 hours is even better. So what you can, please do, but the most important part is the regularity, to practice every day. You may not be able to practice the yoga asanas or pranayam in the morning. Then you can choose an afternoon session. Whatever is the situation, do your level best to practice daily also yoga asanas and pranayam. So we start the day with meditation, with chanting, and we study from a yogic scripture. We continue with the practice of yoga asana and pranayam. Then during the day, we practice karma yoga. Karma yoga is a very important yoga. It's the foundation of all yogas, and it is extensively described in the Bhagavad Gita. During the karma yoga period, we serve in the ashram. We do ashram seva, service in the ashram. Swami Shivananda says that whatever we do, we need to turn it into yoga. To turn it into yoga, we need to do the activity skillfully with the intention to do good. So for example, if we cook, we need to cook with the intention that this food that I prepare is going to benefit all the people in the ashram. It's going to build their physical body and to bring them health. And it's also going to build their mind. It's even more important. And to create in the mind joy and peace. Whatever we do, we should do it with the intention to do good. And we need to do our level best to improve the welfare of whoever is in the ashram. It's not so important what type of service we do in the ashram, but it is more the attitude with which we do the service. the selflessness with which we do the service. And in the system of yoga, regarding karma yoga, we have few terminologies. One terminology is karma. Karma simply means action. Karma means that whatever we do, according to the motive behind the action, there is going to be a result, and we are going to experience that result. That experience may be enjoyable or sorrowful, according to the action that we do. This is the idea behind karma. The results of our actions do not need to be experienced in this life. They can be experienced in future life. But one thing is sure, every action must have a result, and every result must be experienced by the person that does the action. So this is called karma. Then there is another terminology which is called nishkama karma, which means selfless activity. Selfless activity is seva. Seva means we serve the ashram, the people in the ashram, the beings in the ashram, with the intention to do good, to elevate them, and we do not expect any reward for our service. This is called nishkama karma. And then there is a third terminology which is called karma yoga. Karma yoga means that whatever action we do, we have to do it for the sake of Ishvara, or for the sake of the Supreme Being, or for the sake of the Supreme Lord. Then it is called karma yoga. Now a person may say, but I do not believe in the existence of God. How can I practice karma yoga? Then the answer is, whether you believe or you do not believe in the existence of God, at least initially, you can practice nishkama karma, means selfless service to your fellow beings with the intention to do good. If you do this, this will purify the mind, and this will prepare the mind for the practice of the higher yogas. So during the day, we practice karma yoga. It's not simply work, it's not simply activity, but it is activity that purifies the mind when it's done with a special intention, with a special attitude. One easy way to turn every activity into karma yoga is to repeat our mantra when we do the activity. So for example, when we wash the dishes, we can chant the divine name. We can actually chant loudly, like in the same manner that we chant during kirtan. Or we can repeat our own mantra silently. When we do it, this will automatically become a practice of karma yoga. Swami Shivananda says, keep your hands in the work or in the service, and keep your mind in God. Keep your mind in the divine being by repeating your mantra. This is a very easy method of practicing karma yoga. This way we divinize, we spiritualize all of our day. Doesn't matter what we do. Then as the day approaches its end, in the same manner that we started the day, we are going also to conclude the day. If we can practice another short session of asanas and pranayama towards the end of the day, this is very good. Then in the evening, again, we have satsanga. If you are at home, you can have a short period of meditation. You can create a corner in your room with an altar, a small meditation area where you meditate every day. In the evening before retiring, it's good to meditate, to do some chanting, and to study a little bit from some yogic scriptures. Then we can retire. Swami Shivananda says about it, start the day with God, fill the day with God, end the day with God. This is the way to God. Or to put it differently, start the day with yoga, fill the day with yoga, end the day with yoga. This is the way to yoga. Yoga means union, or attaining that level of consciousness of absolute unity or oneness. So about this, Swami Shivananda says, have a daily routine based on the instructions of your guru or teacher, and fill in a spiritual diary. Spiritual diary, we record the daily practice that we have done in that particular day. Swami Shivananda wrote a spiritual diary with 26 questions that covers all the aspects of yogic practice. This spiritual diary exists and is explained in detail by Swami Shivananda. It's very, very practical. You don't have all at once to fill in all the questions of the spiritual diary. You can select some of them which are more relevant to your daily practice and fill it in. And once a month you can send the spiritual diary to your teacher or to your guru. The teacher will correct it, will send you corrections, remarks, and good advice, and this way you can progress. So this is a good way to practice. As for meditation, Swami Shivananda said, nil desperandum, do not lose heart, do not despair. This is what he said. The meaning is that meditation is not something which is a simple technique. Meditation is a whole part. It's one of the major practices in yoga. And that practice consists of 8 limbs. Those 8 limbs together are called Ashtanga Yoga, the yoga of 8 limbs. And these 8 limbs include yama, which are restraints, or to put it simple, ethical practice, niyamas, daily observances for the purification of the physical body and the mind, asana, the yogic postures, which are practiced to create a foundation of health, to purify the physical body, to pacify the physical body, to make the physical body strong and steady as a preparation for meditation. Pranayama, the yogic breathing techniques, which are meant to purify the subtle body and to prepare the mind for meditation. And when we say the mind, we also include the 5 senses. Then comes pratyahara, the control of the 5 senses and the withdrawal of the 5 senses from their object, withdrawing the senses into the mind, like a tortoise that withdraws its limbs within the shell. Similarly, the yogi withdraws the senses from the sense object into the mind, and then the yogi can start the practice of concentration and meditation. Dharana, which is the practice of concentration. The purpose of this practice is to develop a pure and one-pointed mind as a preparation for meditation. Then comes dhyana, which is the meditation itself. In the meditation, the meditation is directing the mind in a peaceful, loving, one-pointed way towards God or towards the innermost self, which is our innermost being. Either you meditate on the self or you meditate on one of the aspects of the Supreme Being or God. This is dhyana or meditation. To put it in a simple manner, you can meditate on the mantra, which is a divine name, and this by itself will be dhyana if it's done in the proper manner. Eventually, the meditator will unite mentally in the object of meditation or with the object of meditation. The mind of the meditator will merge with the object of meditation, And this merging of the mind with the object of meditation is called samadhi. So when we speak about meditation, meditation includes all the 8 limbs. It's not just one limb. It's before the 7th limb of Ashtanga Yoga, which is meditation, there are 6 previous limbs that need to be practiced. It's like building a building. You build the foundation and then the upper floors until you reach the 7th floor, which is the meditation. And there is even higher than meditation. So when we deal with the mind, we need to be patient. We need to understand well the technique of meditation, and we need to practice the meditation with the right attitude, and we need patience. We need patience, and we need to overcome boredom. One of the big obstacles of meditation can be boredom. We should not become bored, and if we become bored, we need to overcome it by patience. It means we continue the practice, and at a certain point, we are going to taste the sweetness of meditation. Then this is going to solve the problem of boredom. Another problem is falling asleep during meditation. Again, there are different methods or different ways to prevent falling asleep during meditation. Falling asleep is because when you repeat the mantra, for example, being a repetitive practice, it can induce sleep for beginners or with beginners. Also, if you are tired, you may fall asleep. In order not to fall asleep, there are different techniques. One very good technique is, for example, to integrate the repetition of the mantra with the breath. If you integrate the repetition of the mantra with the breath, this will help not to fall asleep. Then another possible problem during meditation is an overexcited mind. Again, in order to deal with an overexcited mind, we need to pacify the mind. In order to pacify the mind before meditation, it's very good to do, for example, 3 rounds of Kapalabhati and 10 rounds of Anuloma Viloma Pranayama, alternate nostril breathing. But let's say you don't have time to do 3 rounds of Kapalabhati. You can do 1 round of Kapalabhati, 5 rounds of Anuloma Viloma. This will pacify your mind before meditation, and this can solve temporarily the problem of an overexcited mind. So these are different possible hints. Another thing which is very helpful for meditation is to have a sattvic diet. What you eat will affect your meditation. To eat food which is lighter by nature, which is purer by nature, and not food which is overexciting for the senses and the mind. No food which is too heavy and will put you to sleep, but a light and nutritious and tasty food. It will be very, very helpful for meditation. These are a few hints. Remember that good meditators meditate also during the day. When they walk, they repeat their mantra. When they do a kind of karma yoga that allows to do japa or repetition of the mantra during the karma yoga, they do it. When they walk on the beach, they integrate the steps with the breathing and with the mantra, like this. When they hold the asana, they repeat their mantra. When they do pranayama, they integrate the mantra with the pranayama. This way, meditation will get better and better and better and better. But we shouldn't do too much at the beginning. We should gradually build it up. We should not go beyond our limitation. But slowly, slowly, we have to build up, go higher and higher and higher and higher, according to our capacity and with the help of the advice of the teacher. Another important point for meditators is, for a good meditator or good meditation, you need to master to a certain degree the art of relaxation. Swami Vishnu-Devananda described the method of meditation in a different way, which is more or less the same. He said yoga consists of 5 principles: proper exercise, which are the yoga asanas; proper breathing, which is the pranayama; proper relaxation, which is the yogic relaxation; proper diet, which is the sattvic, the pure yogic diet that is conducive to meditation; positive thinking, which is the philosophy of Vedanta; and meditation, which is the actual practice of meditation as I described it. All these things are very, very helpful, and if they are practiced in moderation on a daily basis, and if we persevere, in the longer run we will become very good meditators. So about this, Swami Shivananda says, nil desperandum means do not despair. Don't think you can, at the very beginning, become a very good meditator. It's not so easy. It requires steady and strong practice. But this practice is so beneficial, so it's not something where you are going to reap the fruits in the future, but you are going to get the fruits also in the present. And this will encourage you to continue the practice. This is the answer. Okay.
Om Swamiji. What is a good way to keep my asana practice inspired with devotion?
Inspired with what?
With devotion and devotional.
First of all, you need to practice. If you don't practice, you will not experience the benefit of the asanas. Many times, one obstacle for the practice of yoga asanas is the fatigue of the physical body. Fatigue is an obstacle to asanas. Therefore, in order to improve the practice of our asanas, we need to do 2 things. First of all, we need to improve our sleep a little bit, and we need to eat lighter food. If the food that we eat is too heavy and too exciting to the senses, this will become an obstacle with the asana. So the food needs to be purer and lighter. And if you want to renew the good practice of yoga asanas, you need to take a yoga vacation. You actually need a yoga vacation because the fatigue which is absorbed in the body will be a temporary obstacle for the good practice of yoga asanas. You just need to be able to start again. Another good hint for those that are in a desperate situation is getting a good Ayurvedic massage for a few days, including Shirodhara, including the flowing of the hot oil on the forehead. This is for the purpose of relaxation and for the purpose of opening of the nadis or the channels of prana. This is for people that need to get back to self-practice. So when you slide there, you don't need to do anything. Someone else is doing it for you. This is not instead of asanas. This is just to help you to start again in a good way. Then you need to start. A good way to start is in the beginning to take yoga classes with a good teacher. This is very helpful. You will get a very good experience. The good experience will encourage you to do it again. So the more you practice, the better you feel, the more you would like to practice. So in the beginning, I'm talking about a person that tries to get back to the practice. So this way, gradually, we need to get back to daily practice. It's not so much the length of the practice, but the regularity is the most important part. Then when the regularity is back, the practice becomes very sweet, very blissful. You come out of a good yoga asana and pranayama practice totally refreshed, rejuvenated, recovered, physically and mentally. The yoga asanas are removing toxins from the body. The yoga asanas are opening blocked nadis, blocked channels of energy. And the yoga asanas are awakening the spiritual force within ourselves. So many benefits are there, and they are preparing the physical body for meditation. They are generating the forces of health within the body. So many good things are there. So my suggestion is pay attention to sleep, pay attention to better diet, lighter food, nutritious food, and if you need to take few Ayurvedic massages just to prepare your body, kindly do it. Otherwise, slowly start. You don't need at the very beginning to compete with anybody. Just follow the instruction and do your level best. You'll benefit a lot. So I think probably I answered the question.
Om Swamiji. Recently, I'm feeling a strong desire to know Swami Vishnu-Devananda. Could you please tell us some inspiring stories about him?
Okay. Strong desire to know Swami Vishnu-Devananda. So one way to know Swami Vishnu-Devananda is to read the books that he wrote. This is called negative satsanga. Swamiji is not physically alive right now, but he wrote books. Another way to do it is you can write in YouTube. You can write Swami Vishnu-Devananda, and you'll see so many small movies about the life of Swami Vishnu-Devananda. This way you can actually see Swamiji, not only read his words. As for the life of Swami Vishnu-Devananda, there are many stories. Swamiji was an extraordinary yogi. He was an accomplished yogi. And his life has many facets. He was a great yogi that trained many people all around the world within the science of yoga. He was a prophet of peace. He went all around the world to warn humanity about the dangers which are there because of how people are living and are treating each other. And at the same time, he pointed what is the way for peace. He endangered his own life when he took these peace missions. Swamiji propagated the vision of unity in diversity. He brought people from all walks of life together to see the unity which is underlying our differences and the diversity. Swamiji had a grand vision about the future of humanity and planet Earth. He envisioned or saw a future of planet Earth where the whole planet was engulfed by fire. And in the presence of that fire, the people on planet Earth tried to escape this fire. And trying to escape the fire, they broke all borders, physical borders, mental borders, spiritual, religious borders. All borders were shattered. And in that process, and in the presence of that fire, humanity became one, and humanity marched into a bright future. But on the way to that bright future that Swamiji envisioned, humanity had to go through a great crisis. Swamiji saw this vision here in the Yoga Retreat in the year 1969 in the main temple. And as a consequence of his vision, he became a peace pilot. He went all around the world and he conducted peace missions in all the trouble spots of the world. And he taught the whole humanity. And he created the yoga teacher training course, and eventually he reached millions and millions of people, and he shared with them vision and message of the ancient science of yoga and Vedanta, and he brought benefit to millions and millions and millions of people. He left his body in 1993 in India. After leaving his body, this organization continues to carry on his mission in a strong manner, and the organization continues to grow. Many yoga teachers are being trained all over the world, and millions of people benefit from the teachings of Swami Vishnu-Devananda and help through this teaching humanity. This is what I have to say about Swami Vishnu-Devananda. There are 2 books written about the life of Swami Vishnu-Devananda. One book, which was written by Gopala Krishna, named The Yogi. It's a little difficult to get it, but you can still get it. And another book that just came just recently, and Swami Brahmananda will say what is the name of the book.
The Great Vision, Swamiji.
The Great
Vision.
The name of the book is The Great Vision. We just received it, and it's going to be distributed everywhere, and it's about his life. More books are going to come about his life, so you are going to get the opportunity to learn more about the life of Swamiji. Okay.
Om Swamiji. The outcome of the Kurukshetra battle was predetermined. So is the time of our death. Isn't free will, in the absolute sense, an illusion that binds us to our ego?
There is a statement that the result of the war of Kurukshetra, the result of the great war that took place on that field, which is called Kurukshetra. It's a field in India where the Pandavas and the Kauravas had a grand war. And Lord Krishna was there, and Arjuna was there, and in the middle of the battlefield, the Bhagavad Gita was given to humanity. And some people say that the result of the war was predetermined. But this is not what Lord Krishna said. At the end of the Mahabharata, which is a great epic, Mahabharata is an ancient poem that consists of 100,000 verses, and the Bhagavad Gita is just a part of the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, at the very end, Lord Krishna answers some questions that were put to him. And he said clearly that this war was very difficult. It was very difficult to vanquish the negative forces. And he had to do very special things to help the forces of light to win. And so it was predetermined and it was not predetermined. And when we say predetermined, what do we mean by predetermined? Predetermined means that when we do an action, the action must have a result. So once we have done the action, that action must have a result. And we have to experience the result of our own action. So the result of the action which was created while we did the action, and now it exists as a potential or as a karmic seed in the reservoir of the karma that we carry. That result, which was produced by the action, is going to manifest in the future, and we are going to experience it. From this point of view, this is predetermined. What is not predetermined is how we are going to respond to the experience of the fruit of our own action. When we experience the results of our own actions, how are we going to respond to it? This is not predetermined. This is free will. Human free will is relative free will. It's not absolute free will. It's only relative free will. But although it is relative free will, it is still free will. By this free will, we create karma. Because we create karma, we are going to experience the results of that particular karma. Also, because of the free will, the human being has a certain capacity to participate in the process that leads to his or her own spiritual liberation. When we practice yoga, our own efforts can take us only so far. At a certain point, our own efforts do not help anymore. At that point, we need to surrender to the supreme reality, because human effort is not sufficient anymore. But to reach that point, human effort is required, and that human effort is governed by the power of free will. But again, this is relative free will. This is not absolute free will. Absolute free will belongs only to Ishvara, to the Supreme Being. Relative free will belongs to human beings. And because of that relative free will, we can progress, we can evolve, we can change the course of our destiny, and we can attain self-realization. So, Swamiji, did I answer this question completely?
Yes, Swamiji.
Yes, okay. Swami Swaroopananda, is my time over? No? Okay.
Om Swamiji. What is the meaning and importance of brahmacharya?
Brahmacharya means Brahma Achara, the conduct that leads to Brahman, or the conduct of life that leads to self-realization. This is the meaning, the conduct of life that leads eventually to self-realization is Brahmacharya. This is the meaning. Brahma, Brahman, the absolute reality. Achara, Achara means conduct, the conduct of life that leads to self-realization. Generally, to understand this, we need to understand that the human mind always moves towards objects. If we understand that the human mind always moves towards objects, the question comes, why does the human mind move towards objects? Because when the human mind moves towards objects, you will understand in a moment what happens. As the human mind moves towards objects constantly, it moves towards objects with the help of the five senses. The five senses are like five horses, and the human mind is holding the reins of these horses, and the horses have only one direction normally, towards the objects of the senses. So the human mind usually moves towards the objects of the senses. Why? Because it seeks or it searches happiness. The human mind always is in search for happiness. And the human mind believes that somehow happiness can be found in the sense object. So the human mind turns towards the object seeking happiness, in the search of happiness. But without any exception, the human mind is not able to find happiness in objects. So it tries again and again and again and again and again. And it became a long habit created through many lifetimes. So to many lifetimes, the human mind has moved outward in search of happiness towards the objects. So it became a habit. But the problem is this: the happiness that the human mind is searching for cannot be found in objects. The happiness, or the source of all happiness, exists within the source of the human mind itself, where the human mind originates. And there is that infinite, unlimited, eternal ocean of joy. But the human mind, in search for happiness, goes the opposite direction. Instead of going towards its own source where happiness can be found, it goes towards the objects because of a very long conditioning. So what happens then? Swami Brahmananda is going to read again the question.
Om Swamiji. What is the meaning and importance of
Brahmacharya? Very good. So, the conduct that leads a person to the true self, this is the meaning. Brahmacharya, that conduct of life that leads a person towards the true self. So we search for happiness in the objects of the senses. And this direction is explained within the scripture as a person trying to go towards the east, but he makes a mistake and he goes towards the west. The more he goes towards the west, he gets further and further and further from the east. The more our mind goes towards the sense objects, the mind goes further and further and further and further from the source of real happiness. It goes into a desert where happiness cannot be found. So this is the normal way of how the human mind goes. Now, when the mind tries to find happiness in objects, that desire to find happiness in objects is fulfilled by experiencing and possessing objects. The idea is, if I will only possess this object and experience this object, I am going to attain that desired happiness. But it never happens. It's like a desert. We just go deeper and deeper and deeper in the desert. Brahmacharya is the process where we take a U-turn. Means we have gone further and further and further to the west. Now we took a U-turn, and now we are moving eastward to the source of the mind itself, where the ocean of infinite happiness exists. It exists in the source of the mind itself. So that process where we return to our own source, where all happiness exists, after by some sheer luck or good destiny or good fortune, finding our own guru, we were initiated and we were guided to return to our own source. That process of taking that U-turn and moving in the direction of our own source, which is also the source of the mind, this process is called brahmacharya. That conduct of life that will lead us back to our own true self. This is the meaning. So this is brahmacharya. So what was the question?
That was the question, Swamiji.
That was the question. This is very good. Now you understand what is brahmacharya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Om Swamiji. What is the meaning of bare insult and bare injury, and how is it different from being abused?
For this, we need to understand the law of karma. Let's say that someone abuses me verbally. This experience is a result of something that I have done myself in the past. This you need to understand. Nothing that we experience is there for no good reason. Everything that we experience is a result of something that we have done in the past. So the idea is like attracts like. In other words, the nature of the action is similar to the nature of the result, because the action as a cause resides in the result, which is the experience. So if I am abused, verbally or otherwise, the real reason for it is that sometime in the past, and it can be in any reincarnation or in many reincarnations, I myself have abused other people. If people insult me because in the past I myself have insulted so many people, if I am injured because I have injured so many people, this is the reason. Now, For a person that understands the law of karma, it makes no sense at all to insult a person. A person insults me because of something that I have done, and I know exactly what I have done. Now what am I going to do? I am going to insult that person, and by insulting that person, I'm reinforcing the cause of that abuse against me. Means not only that I'm not removing the cause, but now I am assuring that in the future I'm going to experience more abuse, more insult, and so on. Therefore, no person that understands the law of karma will return insult for insult, injury for injury, because this will only perpetuate the situation and make it worse and worse and worse and worse. So what do we need to do? We need to apply the antidote. What is the antidote? The antidote is something that all the great teachers of humanity taught us. Let's take Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha taught in the Dhammapada, very important text that comes from Lord Buddha. He said, you cannot neutralize hatred by hatred. The only thing that can neutralize hatred is love. You cannot neutralize injury by injury. The only thing that can neutralize injury is the opposite of injury, which again is love, and so on. In other words, whatever happens to us is like an open book that tells us what we have done in the past and what we need to do in the present. In the present, first of all, we need to desist. We need to stop this action that have generated this situation. And the second thing is we need to apply a proper remedy. So for example, the remedy for poverty is charity. The remedy for being hurt is propagating peace. The remedy for anger is propagating patience and tolerance, like this. So every painful thing that happens in my life is because of my own actions. And if I can apply the proper remedy in the future, not only I will not experience it, but I will experience a different type of reality altogether. When we see war around us, usually there is a karmic reason for it. In the past, we have propagated war, violence, strife. We have done it ourselves. Now we experience the results. So now we have to become peacemakers, like this. So bare insult, bare injury is the only sensible thing that a person that understands the law of karma can do in order to stop insult and injury. If we want to stop insult and injury, the answer is within ourselves. It's not simply outside. We only see the results. Within us lie the causes. If you can neutralize the causes, you will not see the results. So this is counterintuitive, but it is also true. And we need to have, it's a difficult practice, therefore Swami Shivananda says, highest yoga. He said, this is the highest yoga, bare insult, bare injury. This is the highest sadhana, this is the highest spiritual practice. If you can do this, you are very close to spiritual liberation. But it's also a very sensible spiritual practice. We do not encourage abuse. This is the way to stop abuse. We are actually neutralizing the causes. So understanding the law of karma is extremely helpful. Okay. And there are higher meanings of this practice, but I think this is a good and practical meaning. Last question? Okay.
Om Swamiji. Swamiji, what would you say to an aspirant who feels called both to renunciation and direct action in the world to share the message of peace through yoga and Vedanta?
Can you repeat it? I could not understand what you say.
Yes. Swamiji, what would you say and advise to an aspirant who feels called both to a life of renunciation and direct action in the world to share the message of peace through yoga and Vedanta?
Swamiji was such a person. He was the greatest sannyasi, and he propagated, and all his life he acted to bring the real understanding of peace to the world. So many peace activities were conducted by him. He propagated the teaching of yoga and Vedanta everywhere, and at the same time, he was the greatest renunciate. So my advice for this particular person is kindly read these two books that I mentioned about the life of Swami Vishnu-Devananda. You will see a living example of a person that embodied these two aspects, being a great renunciate and at the same time living his life for the sake of humanity, bringing forward a message of peace using so many methods, and teaching the whole world the teachings of yoga and Vedanta. His life is a very, very good example. Okay?